ever checked out the expert handicappers at sportsmemo.com? If not, we have a deal that is impossible to pass up. Right now, you can get every pick from 12 different handicappers this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for only 99 bucks. This includes all sports, all 5% releases from 12 different handicappers for 3 full days. In the history of Wager Talk, Gold Sheet, and Sports Memo, we've never had a deal this good, and the odds are we never will again. All NBA, all college basketball, all NHL, NFL, and soccer, all sports, all 12 handicappers this weekend only at sportsmemo.com.
Welcome in, guys. It is a Friday here. Can't believe it. Friday already, January the 22nd. Welcome in to another edition of the College Basketball Tip-Off Show. It is powered by our friends at Wager Talk, and we got 4 games on tap. We're going to break down for you, including a couple of games today, a couple of games tomorrow, and they'll include Michigan, Purdue, Cal State taking on Bakersfield, taking on UC Riverside. We've got Kansas, Oklahoma tomorrow. We got Ohio State, Wisconsin as well. Plus, we've got your best bets from around the horn and our friends at the Gold Sheet. Let's introduce you to the guys who are going to be breaking these games down for you, including our longtime friend here, Drew Martin from SportsMemo.com. He steps up to the college basketball show for the first time this year. And Drew, always a pleasure seeing you. Dave Koken in the house, as well as my neighbor downstairs, that being Ralph Michaels. A quick look at their Twitter handles, guys. For those of you that love Twitter, you definitely going to love following these guys here at Drew Martin Bets, at Dave Koken, at Cal Sports LV. Gentlemen, welcome in. And Drew, let me start with you, my friend. We haven't had a chance to talk to you yet this year. How's college hoops going, my man? And what, if anything, do you have at sportsmemo.com right now?
Hey, Joe, always good to be on with you, man. One of my favorites in the industry, as well as Ralph and Dave. And, Sports Memo's got a lot going on. Like we just heard with Kelly in Vegas talking about, you can get 12 handicappers for under $100. That's a really good deal, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I got my best bet on the show. Also like it, in terms of like client play status. And we got Saturday tomorrow being the best day, to bet in terms of really the whole sports calendar, Joe. I mean, Saturdays for college basketball in the month of January are always fun, going to have multiple plays. So I can't wait for tomorrow, but even more so excited for this show. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, my man. Dave, how did you do last night? What do you got going up today as we head into the weekend? It's a big weekend across the board for you.
Yeah, the best bet was in hockey, and it won with the Bruins. So those continue to be they've been really good. I think it's 21-8 in 2021, plus 51%, I believe, in terms of net profits. So I'm real happy with that. And I have a best bet up in the NFL on the Tampa Bay Green Bay game. No best bets in hockey or basketball today, but I do have one NHL bet. The NHL's been just sensational so far. The college basketball best bet is the one I'll use for the best bet here on the show, so no need to purchase that. Awesome, guys. Awesome. He has been crushing it, guys. So make sure you're checking out Dave at WagerTalk.com. Head over to his page. And Ralph, my man, you can just straight fire. I was trying to get flames and everything for you. Hell of a night last night. Certainly those that joined us yesterday, we talked about, I believe, a Morehead State play, laying the 6 there. Quality job, as well as the under in the first half in the Wichita State game. So congratulations, Ralph.
Had 5 plays yesterday, a 4 in one day. Gave 2 of them away for free here. I have 5 plays today, 4 nighttime games loaded in a package. I'm trying to race Dave for this best bet record. My college basketball 4% best bet, 7 straight winners, 11-1, 92% the last 12. 2 4% plays today, and you're getting 4 plays, including 2 4%, all loaded into one package. Going to be a very profitable weekend, guys. It starts with recognizing these 3 gentlemen right now. Drew, you can head over to sportsmemo.com. Ralph and Dave at wagertalk.com. All right, let's take a look at some of those past performances from last night. Some of those top performers there, Ralph. And BYU taking on Portland, Tennessee State, SIU, Edwardsville, and Pepperdine Pacific was a game we talked about here on the show yesterday, Ralph. Yeah, Edwards took over for Pepperdine, and Matt Harms, the Purdue transfer, is someone BYU looks to, and he came up big. It was a blowout game, so all of those situations you take them for what they're worth.
Yep, yeah, certainly a game Pepperdine needed, that is for sure. Some of the overs and unders from yesterday, some of the big covers. Take a look at that. Murray State, Jacksonville State there. That was an interesting game, both first half and second half. Miami, Ohio, Bowling Green. And how about New Mexico? I think that was why we were on the show there yesterday, Ralph. New Mexico, San Jose State. Interesting game as well there in the early afternoon action.
Yeah, we talked about New Mexico and UNLV paint drying when they played. So, New Mexico and San Jose State, basically the same thing. So if you took advantage, somebody had to win that game and the Lobos come out ahead.
Isn't that the truth there? All right, guys, let's start right off the bat here. We're going to go Big Ten action because this is the game I know a lot of folks are looking to tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern. We're looking at Michigan taking on Purdue. Michigan opens up small favorite, laying 3, total right around that 138 mark. And Drew, let me start with you, my friend. The Boilermakers, woo, they are on fire here. And Michigan, they think right now, there's a lot of folks that think Michigan, we are looking at least if not an 8, but at least a Final Four team. What do you think about this matchup here tonight?
Joe, this is a fascinating matchup, mainly due to, where you were going with that intro in terms of national championship implications. I want to throw out a stat here. It was actually in the Gaming Today newspaper this week in Las Vegas. 17 of the last 18 national champions in college basketball have both been in the top 40 in both offensive and defensive efficiency, according to Ken Pom, the only one being 2014 UConn. And this matchup in the Big Ten that we're talking here on Friday night, Michigan and Purdue, both of these two teams qualify. Michigan being number 7 and number 8, respectively, in offensive and defensive efficiency. Purdue, a little bit more down, but still, it's very respectable, number 38 and number 28, respectively, in offensive and defensive efficiency. So both of these two teams, I think, have a shot to make deep runs in March Madness. In terms of betting this game tonight, Michigan 10-3 against the spread. They've been cashing tickets. Purdue, hot like you talked about, but still just about middling of the road in terms of covering spreads. So even though Michigan, the more talented team and the market's telling us here, I lean with the Wolverines, especially because when you're looking for a home underdog, Joe, I like teams that turn their opponent over. And defensively, the Boilermakers really haven't done that this season. So that's why I lean here with the Wolverines.
Dave, listen, it's that Tuesday game against Ohio State, that's their 4th consecutive win for Purdue here. Might we be in a letdown situation for them today?
No, not against Michigan. How do you let down against Michigan? That was a great coaching job by Matt Painter the other night at the end of the Ohio State game on 4 successive plays. Purdue got it done, and it was by design. Michigan look, they had the misstep against Minnesota, but they've been as good as anybody outside of Gonzaga and maybe Baylor this season. And that's where I've got them right now. I think they're the 3rd or 4th best team in the country. It's a difficult spot on the road, certainly laying points, but I've pretty much made a decision that I'm not going to bet against Michigan. So, I don't want the Wolverines, particularly in this spot. It's a bigger game, I think, a slightly bigger game than Purdue, but it's just you make a rule, you stay with it. And I've seen enough of Michigan this year so that I'm either on them or leaving them alone. And in this case, I'll leave them alone. But you will not see me against this Michigan team unless something dramatically changes. If the best I can do is try and beat Michigan, I ought to take the night off.
I love it. Ralph, how are you approaching this game? Michigan likes to come out and punch you right in the face. What happens if they do that to Purdue tonight? Do you trust them enough to be able to make it a game?
I love Dave's philosophy. There's teams you don't play on, there's teams you don't play against. And you look at Michigan and, they were coming off a loss, so you knew they'd be motivated against Maryland. But, there was some talk. A couple of the players said, they were pretty lackadaisical going into that game. Well, what do? They get out to a 17-3 run and then run double digits. The most important thing, I think, coming out of the Maryland game was that Dixon had 3 points on 3 shots. So all of a sudden, you could play a Maryland team and you're not counting on Hunter in the middle. And that's important because he's going to be up against Trevion Williams today. So I look at it, and I actually do like the situation. Purdue by no means is in a letdown, but when you fight back from 17 down 2 games ago, and then you fight back from 11 down in the last game, that's a lot of effort in that second half of the game. So I lean Michigan. I don't want to lean 3 on the road. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game in basically that closer's role where it's coming down to free throws. And then we look at free throws. Michigan doesn't do anything wrong. They're number 32 in the country, where Purdue is number 205. So if it is coming down to those last seconds, another edge for the Michigan Wolverines.
Yep, I'm seeing some 4s across the board here, inching up a little bit in the total 2 to 139. Definitely going to be the game of the night that you got to park in front of the TV and watch. How about our next game? UC Riverside, the Highlanders taking on Cal State Bakersfield, the Roadrunners. Little Big West action here tonight opens up. UC Riverside laying 3, total at 122.5. Riverside 6-3 overall, 3-1 in conference play here. Ralph, I'll start with you. How do you guys, I know at Ken Palm, I think he has Riverside ranked somewhere around 135, Bakersfield around 140, 141. How do you have these 2 teams ranked?
I have Riverside as a little better team, but I'm not going to play them here just because of the defense. And the reason I used this game was these are 2 teams you're going to have to get accustomed to paying attention to. The Big West now is really down to 4 teams. Irvine, Santa Barbara, Bakersfield, and Riverside. Those are clearly the 4 best teams. So while people may not have heard of these teams and saying, why are we talking about this game? The Big West is an important conference. And again, we're looking at 2 teams that will be there. I looked at Riverside. They had one of those COVID issues where they didn't have a game from December 10th for an entire month. They come back, they split against Hawaii. Then what do? Oh, yeah, they surprised everyone and almost beat USC, losing that game in overtime. And then what it really impressed me is after that USC game, you think there might be a letdown? No. They're an 8.5 and a 10-point favorite at Cal Poly. What do? They blow them out by 35 and by 17 points. But, you have 3 of the 4 best, you have 2 of the best 4 defenses in the conference, and you have 2 of the 3 best offenses in the conference. Even though the offenses are there, I do like the under tempo here. I'm going to lean under in this game. These teams know they're the elite. These teams know that they're combined. They're 8-2 in the conference. I think we have some sort of playoff feel for these 2 newcomers to the top of the board in the Big West.
Good stuff there. Drew, listen, Ralph's leaning the under. It opened up at 122.5. I'm seeing 125. So the market's pushing the total up here. How do you have this game ranked tonight?
Actually, I like the under as well. I agree with Ralph, and this push towards the over. We always got to keep in mind, Joe, with totals near 120, each point move matters a lot more than when the totals are in the 160s. So this is a whole different bet, 122 to now touching 126 at some of the offshores. And whenever you're talking about, 300 teams in terms of offensive pace, when they face each other, I don't want to bet that type of game profile-wise to the over. So I very much disagree with this market move towards the over. We got Cal State Bakersfield at number 348 in terms of offensive tempo, Riverside 322. Now, when you start talking about Riverside, top 20 in both 3-pointers, but 3-point defense very good as well. And they're only 60% from the free throw line, so they're not going to get a lot of help from the stripe. Offensive rebounding for Cal State Bakersfield is very good, but I think that's almost a little bit artificially inflated because they just can't shoot, Joe. This team is awful with offensive efficiency, and I think that really speaks towards this under. I agree with Ralph. At 126, I actually might get involved personally towards the under.
They've been pretty profitable, Dave. Bakersfield, 4-0-1 against the number in their last 5, so they've rewarded their backers. How are you looking at this game tonight?
Well, first on Riverside, they did have a letdown after that USC game. The good news was it was against Cal Poly. They actually trailed at the half against a really bad Cal Poly team. But then they outscored them in the second half 50-14. That's pretty good. Now they've been a team that's obviously shown a lot of improvement this year. Riverside's been a down program for a long time, but improved some last year to 17 wins, and this year, I think you can make an argument they might end up being the second best team in the Big West. I think Irvine's going to be the best team. Irvine, by the way, plays Cal Poly tonight, and they'll likely just blow them off the court. This game, to me, comes down to one matchup. And Drew mentioned that Bakersfield can't shoot the ball. And they have flourished by getting second chances, a ton of offensive rebounds. Well, I don't know about that working here because Riverside's a very good rebounding team. So if you're not likely to get as many second shots as you normally get, you better put the first shots in. And Bakersfield just doesn't do that on a regular basis. I think the teams are fairly even, but I think the matchup favors the Highlanders. I like Riverside in this, man, minus the points.
All right, Riverside and a couple of votes
Joe,
to the under.
Just one more off note. Drew, we've got another championship series to go to. The Big West, which has played for years in Anaheim, is now moving to Vegas as well. So Las Vegas has the Pac-12, the Mountain West, the West Coast, the WAC, and the Big West tournaments for March Madness.
I love it, Ralph. Are we going to be able to go this year?
Well, let's hope so. Knock on wood.
I would doubt that.
Yeah. Now, if you were to say it's in Florida, I would say you got a pretty good chance of that happening. But you guys are on the West Coast. I'm being here on the East Coast in Florida. Before we get to Saturday's games, though, I do want to just remind you guys, if you're joining us right now, a couple of great things happening, not only at Wager Talk, but also sportsmemo.com. Drew, you can reach at sportsmemo.com. In fact, Drew and the whole cast of handicappers at Sports Memo, 3 days right now, $99. Get all their plays, guys. You can't go wrong with that. Head over to sportsmemo.com and Wager Talk, where you can create your own team right now. 30 days all access, up to 2 or 3 of your favorite handicappers. Put them together, make your own team. You take 55% off of the price on that, and boom, you've got your own team of some of the very best. Why not Ralph and Dave Koken right now, heading over to wagertalk.com. Put your team together and make it a profitable next 30 days. Let's take a look here, guys, at Saturday monster matchups here. And we'll start, guys, with Kansas and Oklahoma, right? I mean, it opened up as a pick'em here, I believe. There's been a little bit of movement, Ralph, I'm not mistaken. 141 and a half. And Dave, let me start with you. It's a coin flip. How do you have this game at this point right now between these two teams who need a win?
I don't think it's a coin flip. I think Oklahoma right now is a little better team than Kansas. Look, the Jayhawks, misleading final score against Baylor. They lose by 8, but they were down 15 with a minute to go in the game and got seven points to make it respectable. That hurt me because there was a 3-pointer at the buzzer that went in on a bank, and that cost me a winner on Baylor. So I'm a little anti-Kansas. But the fact is that the Jayhawks were soundly beaten in that game. They were beaten by Oklahoma State the game before that. Now they're stuck on the road again against Oklahoma. Sooners have their full complement of players back. Look, there's nothing wrong with Kansas. They're still a very good basketball team. But this is not one of Bill Self's great teams. And everybody gets fired up for them. Kansas did beat Oklahoma by 4 just a couple of games back. I think the Sooners get their revenge in this one. I think it'll be a close game, but I like Oklahoma to come out on top.
Ralph, definitely nothing that Kansas Jayhawks are used to. Back-to-back losses here in conference play. How do you have them bouncing back in this spot?
You know, Joe, I think that's why there's value on Oklahoma. You look at current play over the last 5 weeks. You look at conference stats. Oklahoma's the better team. You look at when they played 2 games ago, Oklahoma only lost by 4. Both teams shot 6 of 20 from the three-point land. Kansas had, I think, 5 more made free throws, which was the entire difference of the game. Now you get them at home, and I think there's so many people going to be betting Kansas off a back-to-back loss. Oh, my God, when's the last time Bill Self lost 3 in a row? Well, when's the last time Bill Self didn't have clearly the best team in the conference? You know, prior to last year, they had that stretch of winning the conference. I think there's value on actually Oklahoma. I think the public's going to be on Kansas off those back-to-back losses. Oklahoma's in the mix tomorrow for me to be on my card.
Yeah, Listen, Dave said it, Drew. Kansas ranking outside the top 100 and a lot of offensive metrics here. It's just not something they're used to. How do you have this game lined up here tomorrow?
Yeah, this is a tough one, and I get the argument for the Sooner side, especially being at home. They've been great at home, 7-1 at home, but just 8-4 on the season. Kansas, some tough losses, like Dave touched on, and especially, the Big 12 conference didn't do him any favors. I believe this is a third straight road game for him, dropping the last 2 and 3 of the last 5 games for the Kansas side. Still, they are, top 20 in both offensive and defensive efficiency going back the course of the full season. Head coach Bill Self, going to coach them up. And they're hitting 73% from the free throw line. Plus, a stat here where I actually think, I lean towards Kansas. And Joe, to be honest, I doubt I'm actually going to be involved. But one stat that I really do like, Oklahoma 3-point defense. And that's something that I think is very repeatable from game to game, both home and away. They have kind of struggled defending the perimeter, and that's something where Kansas has been pretty good all season long, hitting their threes. So I kind of lean Kansas, but I think, due to a lot of what Ralph and Dave talked about, I doubt I'll get involved in this one.
Yeah, 12 o'clock at noon, by the way, for that game on Saturday, guys. So if you're going to lean one way or the other, make sure that that you're aware, 12 noon Eastern time tomorrow for that one. One other game, another monster game here on the card tomorrow, guys. It's going to involve Ohio State and Wisconsin. 4.5 is the number I saw there floating around. 132.5 as an open. And Ralph, let me start with you here. Two behemoths, Ohio State. We talked about them coming off of that tough loss to Purdue earlier in the week. How do you have these two teams rated right now going into this Big Ten matchup on a Saturday?
Well, I only have Wisconsin 3 points better. And Ohio State just keeps impressing me. And, you look at Ohio State closely over their body of work. Okay, let's remember, they lost their point guard, C.J. Walker, 4 games ago. So they still beat Northwestern. They still beat Rutgers. They still beat Illinois without him. And then they lost to Purdue. So who comes in? You bring in Sotos as the backup. He plays 1 game and gets hurt. So in the last 3 games, Illinois, the Purdue loss, and Northwestern, you didn't have your number 1 point guard, you didn't have your number 2 point guard, and you still played that well, and you still led Purdue by 11, and you only had 11 turnovers in that game. So that, to me, is amazing. C.J. Walker is likely to be back. The Columbus Dispatch said he played. When they asked the coach, when they asked Holtzman, is he going to play? And Holtzman said, well, he's not going to play 38 minutes. And then Sotos is likely to come back at least in 2 games. He's doubtful for this game because he hasn't practiced, but he wants to play. He said he's ready to play. So you add 2 point guards back into the mix for this team that, is playing as efficient offensively as anyone could be. I think it goes down to the wire. I think there's value with Ohio State plus the 4.5, and we'll see if it goes higher. This number just opened up. We only have 1 casino number. They opened up 4, jumped to 4.5. We'll see where the market settles on it within a couple hours.
Which way you leaning here, Drew? Power. This is it's going to be a war. Which side are you leaning on?
Some of it has to do, Joe, with the injury news and how much these guys are going to be playing, C.J. Walker in particular, like Ralph was talking about. But I actually like the Badgers here, Joe. Ohio State just 3-3 on the road, a good team overall, somebody I actually look to be betting on more so than fading. But Wisconsin, very good in their own right, number 5 in the country in terms of defensive efficiency. Also flirting with 80% from the free throw line, so it comes down to the later minutes at home in the Kohl Center. I actually like the Badgers here, and depending on what the news right before tip-off with the Ohio State side, if a couple key guys are out, I'll likely personally be involved on the Badger side at home.
You got a feel for this one way or the other, Dave? Which way are you leaning?
Well, Ohio State should have 4 in a row. They let it get away against Purdue, and I think that might bode well for them here. I think the Buckeyes are going to come out of that game a little aggravated with themselves, and they're going to have more bodies on hand for this game because, as Ralph mentioned, it looks like Walker's going to be available. So that helps the depth in the backcourt, to be sure. I think Wisconsin, I've said this a couple of times, I think Wisconsin's a little overrated. I think their style of play always makes them maybe seem a little better than they are because their efficiency numbers are very good. But a lot of that has to do with the style of play that they utilize. So I don't put as much stock into some of their metrics as I do other teams. I actually think Ohio State is the better basketball team. This is going more on the eye test than anything else. I know the Ken Palm rankings. I certainly respect them, and he's got Wisconsin, I guess, 9 and Ohio State 17. But off what I've seen, I think Ohio State's got better talent than Wisconsin. I don't think the home court is what it normally is this season, so maybe I'm giving Wisconsin maybe a couple for the home court, and that's it. I like the Buckeyes to go in and win this one. It might make my card.
All right, guys, it's worth keeping an eye out who's playing, who's not playing. It's going to be a great game. 4 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. That tip, guys. 12 o'clock for Kansas, Oklahoma, 4 o'clock for Wisconsin and Ohio State. And before we get to some of our best bets here, I do want to remind you once again, Drew can be found at sportsmemo.com. In fact, you can take advantage right now of the deal they got going on. 3 days. All the handicappers at Sports Memo, including Drew, $99 right now. Grab the plays heading into this weekend. And then, of course, Dave and Ralph. That's right, Dave and Ralph. Put your own team together. Match these two guys up right now. You get 30 days all access for them both. Save yourself 55% on that deal. 30 days all access. Create your own team right now at WagerTalk.com. Taking a look here at our friends from the Gold Sheets. Ralph, where are they going here tonight? Raging Cajuns and UL Lafayette they're going tonight? Arkansas State? What a matchup you pulled up here.
Yeah, well, again, I look through them, and I have a lean with ULL tonight. So, I think they are one of the best teams in the conference. So, as I always do, I will put that up on my Twitter, at CalSportsLV. You could check out the new Gold Sheet format. You can read the write-up. And I've been picking some bad games this week. People on Twitter have been blasting me thinking the Gold Sheet's a horrible publication. I say this. I'm picking out one of 6 or 7 games, guys, and it's a newsletter. You read it. You learn from it. You don't automatically bet everything you see on Twitter, guys. There's some thought process put into it. But I'll tell you what. You read the newsletter to learn and to make yourself a better, and the Gold Sheet's great at giving you information.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me everything on the internet isn't true? Like it's not real? That's kind of mind-blowing right there. Let's talk a little bit about best bets here. Drew, let's start with you at sportsmemo.com here. What's the game that you had circled you want to share with us today?
Sure, Joe. I'm heading to the WAC conference here. We got head coach Bryce Drew with Grand Canyon at Dixie State in St. George, Utah. 893-894 the rotation numbers, guys. Going to have to go a little bit down there on the betting card. It is on ESPN Plus for any of you guys looking to tune in like I will be tonight. And going after the total, actually. 141.5, Joe. I bet it to the over. Couple reasons why. Grand Canyon, a team that I have pinned to playing tempo-wise, really what their opponent plays. And sure enough, when you look at their schedules, the slow-paced games against Colorado, against Tarleton State twice, kind of affecting their full season numbers here, slow games. And then middle of the road, Nevada, the Arizona States, they had over 70 possessions against ASU, 160-plus points against the Nevada Wolfpack squad. And now they're playing against Dixie State, where tempo, pace-wise, Dixie State's a top 20 team in the country. They're going to look to go up and down the court, and I think that they're actually going to be able to at least dictate some of this pace tonight, being the home team in St. George, Utah, and they've had over 70 possessions in all of their games this season, except the New Mexico game. And at the top of the show, we talked about the Lobos and how slow-paced that team is. So in 8 of their 9 games, they've gone over 70 possessions. I could see this game going well over 70 possessions. Grand Canyon, just an average defense, and Dixie State, one of the worst defensive efficiencies in the country. So I think both of these two teams have offensive success against their opposition defensive units here. So over 141.5, Grand Canyon and Dixie State.
That's it, Drew. The one thing we love about Drew, he's going to get that close to that late night degenerate special, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Nothing else starting later than that, Drew, so I appreciate it. Love it. Dave, talk to us, my friend. Best bet here tonight. What are you looking at?
St. George, Utah is not that far away from Las Vegas, and I never knew that there was a college named Dixie State there. And I
Leave it to
also
Drew.
still have not figured out why a school in Utah would have the name Dixie. It doesn't make any sense to me.
It should be in like
the other side of that
Tennessee or something.
is that I was aware long ago that there is not only an Oakland in California, but there is an Oakland in Michigan, and I'm going to get involved in their game tonight. This is crazy scheduling this year, which I don't have to tell anybody who's following college basketball, but it's really crazy with this rivalry between Detroit Mercy and Oakland. They've already played twice, and now they're playing twice more. So it's a 4-game series between Detroit and Oakland. The first 2 games were at Detroit at the end of December. They were both really exciting games that went to the wire, and Oakland pulled them both out. They won in overtime by 2 and then hit a late three to win by 3. I think Detroit's ever so slightly the better team. So I really find it hard to believe that Oakland could beat them 4 times in a row. I think if you take Detroit tonight and you missed, you come back with them tomorrow. I just don't think they'll go 0-4. But I'm going to try and take Detroit and get the win tonight. It's not a big play for me by any means. It's just middle-of-the-road stuff. But I took Detroit plus 1.5. I'm not sure where it is right now. I'll go with Detroit Mercy, the Titans, as my best bet for the show. And it is actually my only college basketball play today. But again, it's not a best bet. So play it accordingly.
Still seeing 1.5s out there as well. Love that angle. And by the way, since you asked, Dave, we were able to figure out that the university, Dixie State, why is it called Dixie State? Its name traces back to the 1850s. 38 families, settlers from the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, all came from the South. Very small, so they just called it Dixie, and that's it. Most everybody in that town was from the South, so that's what they ended up calling it. Now, don't you feel better? Because I know I do. Ralph Michaels, go ahead, my man. Talk to me. Best bet here.
The sad thing is, Joe, I looked it up as well. It used to be called the Virgin Valley. It's in the Colorado River Basin in southern Utah, and now they just called it the Dixie area after that. So
I will point out, I'd see if it's in southern Utah, then the name Virgin Valley is apropos.
What is that?
Oh, Dave.
Oh, Dave.
How can I even give out a best bet after that? All right. Well, I will tell you guys this. I do know that there is a Green Bay in Wisconsin, and to steal one of Dave's phrases, they suck. So I am playing against them. Purdue Fort Wayne new to the horizon. Purdue Fort Wayne on a 6-0-1 ATS run. Listen to these conference numbers offensively and defensively. Purdue Fort Wayne conference play, shooting 52.5%, allowing 47%. Green Bay shooting 43%, allowing 49%. I had this game circled last night. Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne was -3, and I had it circled to be in the mix. I wake up this morning and they're +1, and now I see +1.5. No brainer. It is one of my plays today for my clients. It is not one of the 4 plays that go this evening. This game does tip off 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific.
Love that. All right, keep an eye on St. Peter's, Siena. Siena laying 4, 3.5, 4. Jalen Pickett, make sure you guys keep an eye out for him. They've won 6 in a row. They're going to cover this anyway against St. Peter's, but if he goes tonight, this number is not going to be available much longer. So keep an eye on that. Siena laying 4 right now, taking on St. Peter. Let's take a look at that best bet recap here across the board. Ralph Michaels said something about a virgin in southern Utah from Green Bay. He's going Purdue, I believe, one way or the other, plus 1.5. Koken likes Detroit today, +1. Drew, he's going to go degenerate special. Grand Canyon taking on Dixie State. He likes the over, 141.5. I'm going to hop on Siena here, laying 3.5 on our friends at the Gold Sheet. The Raging Cajuns, UL Lafayette, lay the 9.5. Should be a pretty much of a blowout there. Again, Drew Martin can be found at sportsmemo.com. Guys, take advantage of the deal. Get every one of his plays along with everybody else at Sports Memo for 99 bucks right now heading into the weekend. And then, of course, you've got Ralph, you've got Dave, put them together. You've got your own team at WagerTalk.com right now, which you can do 30 days all access. Get every one of their plays, guys, for 30 days right now at an unbelievable deal, 55% off that combo price. Put your own team together. So, Drew, always a pleasure seeing you, brother. Good luck there. Dave Koken, make sure you're following him, guys. Check him out at WagerTalk.com. And, of course, Ralph Michaels, also at WagerTalk. Hit that little bell in the upper right-hand corner. Guys, make it a profitable weekend. Come back and join us again Monday. We'll do it all over again. In the meantime, best of luck. We'll talk to you on Monday.
While everyone is focused on the NFL, NBA, college basketball, and the return of NHL, our resident Asian sports expert, Tokyo Brandon, has been crushing it. Currently 68.6% in 2021. Based in Tokyo, Japan, Brandon previously scouted Japanese baseball for the Pacific Rim scouting department of a Major League Baseball team for 10 years. He now uses his mathematical probabilities and betting models to handicap Japanese baseball in an array of international basketball leagues. For a limited time, you can check out Tokyo Brandon for pennies on the dollar and get 1 full week of picks for only $49 using coupon code ASIA49 when checking out.